Hopefully this helps someone. I've got my CRF250L here. Look, if you're anything like me, and you didn't like the shape of the factory 250L headlight, and you've had a look around, you've probably noticed that there's not a lot of great just bolt-on replacement options for it. And then obviously you see the 300L, the newer model, and it has a more classically trail bike shaped headlight similar to this, which is pretty much the same as a 450L headlight, which looks a lot nicer. So here I've got my my upgraded headlight unit. Basically what I've done is I've purchased just on AliExpress a 450L headlight. Now one of the things, the 450L and 250L, the bottom of the headlight obviously matching the front fender, the shapes are opposite. So on the 250 it goes down into a V, and then the bottom of the headlight has a V at the bottom that locks into it. So if you just buy the 450 headlight, it's going to look a little bit unusual because you're going to have this big gap in the middle. So what I've done is I've bought the 450L front fender and then the 450L headlight. This is a really cool upgraded one because it has a daytime running light, and then it has LED headlights as well. So there's a daytime running light, and I have a little switch up here that I've installed to turn the main headlights on. And then I've got high beam, which switches the daytime running light off. But just straight up from an actual functioning as a light standpoint, this is a huge upgrade on the factory headlight. The factory headlight's not fantastic, and one of the really annoying things about it is when you flick the high beam on, it turns the low beam off. Whereas with this, when you flick the high beam on, the low beam stays on, which I think is really quite a handy thing. But getting back to making this work, so there's a couple little bits and pieces you have to do to make this work. I had to sort of make it work myself, so I thought, look, if I can give someone else maybe a little bit of a guide on how you make it work, I thought it'd be a good thing. So look, first of all, the way that the 450 headlight mounts up is a little bit different. The 250 headlight has a little mount, you can see there, has a little screw on either side on this bottom mount, and then the same on this top mount just here. See it just there. So there's 4 screws for the 250 headlight. Now with the 450 headlight, it actually has a couple little, you can't really see it from under here, a couple little like dowel clips that pop through, and then the top of it has these little mounting points here. So essentially all I've done is I've, you see this the little indicator bracket. It has a little bit of a tag on the end of it. So I had just enough space, like you can see, to put a riv nut, to drill a hole and put a riv nut in there, and then just make up these little flat steel brackets, which I haven't painted yet, but I will, which just come up and allow you a little mounting space. I'll just put a riv nut on the inside of that little plate there, so that the factory bolt can just go through, and it's pretty much perfect on both sides. And then obviously the bottom just clips in. So with this, I'm not actually sure what the 450 setup is, but it didn't have holes for those little dowels to pop through, so I just sort of roughly measured it out and drilled the holes there just so it would sit. Now that all being done, the next annoying part was from factory, the 450, obviously the headlight sits a lot more sort of flat, less angled back, and to make this work, I kind of drilled those holes back as far as I could, and unfortunately the headlight was pointing way off in the distance, up way too high, and I'm even at the absolute maximum adjustment of the adjuster here, angling the headlight part of it down, it was still way too high. So what I did, I have a little flat steel bender that just goes into a vise. Use what's easiest for you, but see if I can get it to focus. I made up a little steel bracket here, which I then just riveted into the bottom of the headlight, sort of difficult to see. And then there's a little clip in there that the bolt goes into. I just flipped that around the other way, so that instead of the headlight adjuster coming from the front back, it comes from the back to the front. Another way of getting around this would have just been to get a really long screw, but it had to be like probably about 100mm long, and I couldn't be bothered, so I just made up this little plate instead of going and getting a ridiculously long screw. I may go and change that later and just put a really long screw in there and just drill that rivet out and change it, but at the moment this works, so I'm pretty happy with that. The only other thing I will mention is with the guard, The guard for the 450L actually surprisingly is so close to just bolting straight onto a 250L. The only annoying thing about it, I did have to very slightly extend these holes, and the 250L guard has these little inserts that go in there. It's like a washer with a little dowel section on it that slides through, and it just stops the bolt from squashing the plastic. Now, the 450, well, this front fender must be very slightly thinner than the factory 250 guard. So I did actually have to put, wonder if you can see it. There you go. I did actually have to put a washer on the top just to space it out because it was a little bit sort of rattly. But I did that. That was fairly simple. The annoying thing was, hopefully you can see it here, it was hitting the frame here. So what I did, I just got a heat gun, and first I heat up this part up here, just got it really nice and hot, pushed it down, and then just with an air blower cooled it down while it was while holding it, just so it sort of flexed it and reset it into a position slightly more forward. And then just as a little extra safety, I also, you see that little bulge there, I heated this up and just popped that forward because that was the section that was hitting. You see it's still pretty close, but it is well and truly clear of the frame there, so it's not hitting it. It really only was just slightly touching it, but it was pretty annoying, particularly, I do a little bit of highway riding. It was really annoying on the highway when you're trying to ride in a straight line. It felt almost similar to if you've ridden a bike before with like a big notch in the headstem bearings. It didn't want to, it just had an unusual feel about it when you were going straight in the steering. So I, being a little bit pedantic, went and heated that up and flexed it. But look, in my opinion, I think this headlight looks so much better. It pretty much brings it up to looking a lot more like like the more modern models, like the 450L and the 300L. And just from a functional standpoint, it's so much more functional. And being LED as well, it doesn't get hot and uses a lot less power. And I really like that it has this daytime running light. With a daytime running light as well, because obviously the factory headlight just has 3 pins. So it has an earth, low beam, high beam, and this obviously has earth, daytime running light, low beam, high beam. So that switch that I mentioned earlier, essentially what I did is I wired the low beam directly into the daytime running light, and then I just used little crimp clips. The headlight actually came with a really nice little crimp clip set, so I just have my little crimp tool. I wired a switch in line, so essentially what would have been the low beam goes straight to the daytime running light instead, and then there's an extra wire that I've crimped into that same pin, so that wire goes up to the switch, and then the other side comes down and goes into the low beam.